Hello, Americans, and welcome to this episode of 5 Minutes of Common Sense with your host, C.J. Brown. Let's talk more about this out of control immigration and border. Now, what the hell are these lefties and these Republican rhinos thinking of when they try to thwart this president from gaining control of our own sovereign borders? This has got to stop. We are allowing, and have been allowing, as many people into this country illegally that could populate a city the size of Chicago, Illinois, every couple of years. Now, just imagine what that means. It means that once they're in here and they get control of voting and they overrule us, this is not anything to do with racial or homophobia or any of that. This has to do with common sense. If we allow these people to continue coming in here and breeding according to their customs and their traditions where they originate from, having multiple babies, 5, 10, 15 children in one family, all on welfare or public assistance, we're going to go down the drain fast. Now, must we wait until that happens before we actually take action? I'm so proud that President Trump stood up to those damn rhino Republicans and those damn lefty liberals to impose the threat of tariffs on the government of Mexico to our south. And look what it did. It actually worked. So there, you damn fools, all of you who opposed it for whatever your reasons were, it worked. It's called hitting them in the wallet or the pocketbook. It works every time. It's one of the tried and true efforts of the past for hundreds of years. Everybody knows that it works. And the same thing for China. Oh, sure, they're full of a lot of bluster. They say it won't bother them and they're going to resist it and all of that, but they've been screwing us for 3 or 4 decades. You wonder why all the money transferred to China from the United States, and for a while when the Arabs had all the oil monopoly, how do you think they built these cities like Dubai and all these other cities, transformed Shanghai in China? It's because of American wealth that transferred to them. And now they're trying to take control of the earth. So I really don't like Richard Milhous Nixon. I know he was the one who opened the door to China, and everybody thought that was so good. Well, it might have been good if they hadn't been issued favored nation trading status, if they had to work and earn their respect. I've traveled to China before, my friends. Let me tell you, there isn't one American product in sight for sale anywhere. I couldn't even get Wrigley's chewing gum at the airport or a drugstore or anywhere else. Shaving cream, none of it. There isn't one American brand for sale in China. So it's all baloney that they've got you believing that these are fair trade and free trade is good for America. It isn't. It has sapped our strength and depleted our wealth. And the only one to defy this and stand up to these people is that great man, that great patriot, Donald Trump. I have to say it. I didn't vote for him, but I at least will be objective and tell you I didn't vote for any of them because I was so disgusted with that Hillary. Can you imagine the mess we'd be in if she'd gotten in? And if that Mitt Romney ever gets into office, these people are idiots. They're complete idiots. They have no sense at all, no common sense. And that's, after all, what this broadcast is all about. So here you have now the mere threat of an imposition of tariffs against Mexico, and it worked. And I really think Trump was going to go through with it. He said he would, and the president of Mexico seems like a decent human being, understood that. And he's taken action, and it's a call to arms, and now they've marched thousands of Mexican troops to their southern border to prevent them from getting in from Central America, so they can be stopped from getting to our southern border and populating cities like Chicago and Los Angeles, the size of, in just a few short years. This has got to be stopped. It's changing our whole way of life, our culture, our traditions, our customs. What do you think John Adams and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin would have said? They would have said, stop this now, before there's nothing left of the host country. That's us, folks. We're the host country that's tolerated all of this. Incidentally, it was Benjamin Franklin, I believe, who once said, there is nothing common about common sense. And we certainly see that today, don't we? Idiots. Your representatives are idiots. Don't be put off or intimidated by them just because they dress in fancy clothes and the women wear their makeup. They're as stupid as the men. They're no better than the men. So I used to think, well, maybe women, if they take over or at least get into politics, not take over, God forbid, but have an equal voice, we would be better off. When you look at women like Susan Collins and all of them, they're stupid. They're stupid. Look at Miss Nancy Pelosi. She's dumber than a rock. This has got to be stopped. Now, we are a republic, so we follow, theoretically, ostensibly, democratic rule. So I always suggest to my listeners, call your representatives. Call them over and over and over again. Annoy them. You have to become an annoyance. You know what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It's always been that way in the United States and around the world, too. And before I forget it, I want to say that when I traveled the last few times throughout Western Europe, I was horrified when those snarly little Swedes and Danes from Denmark, etc., would come up to me and say, you Americans, you're just awful people. You're horrible people, what you do to your minorities. Ha ha ha! Look at them now. They don't know what to do with all those Muslims that they've imported to those countries. It's changing their entire culture. Well, thanks very much to that horrible Angela Merkel. She is horrible. I'm half German, and I'm not proud of her at all. I was surprised when the Germans kept voting for her as like a vote of confidence. And that Macron from France, I mean, there's a little weasel. And his predecessor was one, and all of them. It got so bad in France, once when I was there years ago, when Mitterrand was it, he said, we must stop treating Western tourists, in particular Americans, so rudely. It's not a good thing to do. I thought, well, the hell with them. You know, I don't need to spend my money. And when a few of them insulted the United States, I'll show you how nationalistic I am. I said, you wouldn't even be speaking French if it hadn't been for the blood of American soldiers who liberated you. You ungrateful, honky-nosed fools. Shame on you. So there we go today, folks, for our 5 minutes of common sense. And I hope you subscribe to this, and we'll be back with you the next time. And for another 5 minutes of common sense. Thank you again. Bye-bye.